Hey yo guys, I'm back here to give you my thoughts on the UFC 102 card that took place on Saturday from the Rose Garden in Portland, Oregon, as well as the M-1 show that took place on Friday. Gotta say, UFC 102, which was a card that I was interested in the main event just because of who was in it and Couture and Nogiera. But other than there was a couple maybe other more fights on there like Maya Marquardt actually, but overall I wasn't as hyped as I probably should be for a card headlined by Randy Couture. With M1, this was not really a good card. I didn't expect it to be that good. I mean, the King Mo performance, I guess, is pretty good in the long run. But then when you look at who he beat up a washed up Mark Kerr. I guess before I get into the review, I gotta just say, M1, not a clue how to promote an event. Not even mentioning the fact that they didn't even really apply for a promoter's license in the state of California. They're like, yeah, we're going to run an event in the state of California. And the state of California is like, do you have a license? Oh, no, we don't. So they had to move from there. They moved all over the place. They got this event in the state of Missouri and Kansas City, to be more specific, a couple weeks ago. The gate for this is going to be awful. When you got to see the couple undercard fights, I got to see a couple undercard fights that aired on the Sheer Dog Live, and even the live show during the entrance ramp, just to see a chairs. This was awful. And then the promotional poster with King Mo and Mark Kerr on it has the wrong date on it. This is not good promotion at all. This is a travesty, actually. If you say, August 29 and, your event's maybe in Japan or something, oh, okay, I get away with it because obviously it's going to be on in the morning. But when you're doing an event in the States, not good at all. They really need to investigate more on how to promote. I mean, just because you have Fedor Emelianenko doesn't mean you think that anyone's going to just come straight up into your town. So that's just one thing I got to say there. But yeah, really overall the card was not that impressive. I mean, the only thing I guess I liked about it was King Mo's performance. The opening bout with Nakamura was pretty actually exciting, and just Michael Schiavello on commentary. Man is great. Easily one of the most entertaining broadcasters in combat sports, bar none. But anyways, I'll review the UFC 102 card first. And like I said, I thought I've seen every fight on this card. Actually, the undercard was better than I thought it would be. I'll just state that now. When you compare it to UFC 101, which had a bunch of boring fights, this one was very, very good. Anyways, let's get to it. We'll go card by card here. Fight by fight, I mean. Anyways, we started things out with Marcus Aurelius and Evan Dunham. This was a great opener, a great back and forth fight. Dunham looked really impressive here. Dictating the pace for 2 of the 3 rounds. I'd say, he held his own in round 3, but didn't do enough to win it. Just a lot of really great back and forth exchanges, and just a great way to get this crowd going into it. I scored at 29-28 for Dunham. He did win that fight 29-28 and 30-27, and some judge scored it 29-28 Aurelio, which I don't see how you can have happen here, but whatever. The next fight was Mark Munoz versus Nick Canton. This was actually a fight that really surprised me. As we all know, Mark Munoz was actually developing to be a really strong fighter in the WEC's light heavyweight division. Comes into the UFC and gets head kicked to hell by Matt Hamill back at UFC 96. He's in here with Nick Catone, and Catone brought a really impressive game plan here. I thought it was just going to be Munoz's, using his superior wrestling and ground and pounding. Not what happened at all here. Catone actually was the better wrestler for the majority of the fight. At least the first round, at least I should say. Maybe not the whole fight, but at least the first round. Nick Catone was out there getting the takedowns and stuffing Munoz's takedown attempts. He had a couple decent submission attempts of, his own version of a Darce choke, and I think a couple Kimura attempt or so down there. But, he got his back a couple times. He looked like he was really out there to win this fight and prove, hey, maybe I can really beat Mark Munoz. Munoz to me won the second round just barely. doing a smidge more work, maybe, getting getting some takedowns in. And he won the third round, really. It was more getting him takedowns, and he actually had better striking when they were fighting on the ground. So I scored at 29-28 Munoz. One judge scored at 30-27 Munoz, which I don't see. That's just really discrediting Nick Catone and his very impressive first round. Really, his overall impressive fight. One judge scored at 29-28 for him. Another judge scored at 29-28 for Munoz. Munoz gets the split decision victory. Then we go to the next fight. This was Tim Hague versus Todd Duffy, and boy, was this one quick. Todd Duffy, bam, one punch to the face. Tim Hague goes down. This was a really impressive performance there by Todd Duffy. I mean, I don't know how really you can say that, I guess, with its fight only went 7 seconds, but damn. Tim Hague fought this one kind of wrong. He came in there, hands down, catch a punch to the face, wrong kind of strategy. Todd Duffy, guy's got an impressive look there, and, getting the fastest win, that's obviously going to get you in maybe at least a couple more UFC shows. Tim Hague, I'm disappointed in, as this is Tim Hague brought a very good fight to Pat Barry back at UFC 98's undercard. So he definitely will at least get one more fight in there. Depending on the decision or how it goes or how he looks, he'll be back on there. But Todd Duffy for sure, look out for that guy. Next fight was Justin McCulley versus Mike Russo. This was not a good fight, really. It was Mike Russo just controlling the fight, taking McCulley down, punching him in the face, beating him up on the ground. Justin McCulley looked like to be on the cutting block for the UFC. This fight for sure will probably seal the fate there. One of the more interesting things in this fight actually is at the end of the first round, is after Mike Russo used his massive weight advantage and just beat the crap out of Justin McCulley on the ground. It looked like Justin McCulley was not going to be able to continue with the second round. He had trouble getting up, said he couldn't see out of his one eye. So the doctor comes in, pushes him, and he's all wobbly and all over the place. And, they do it again, and he gets a little bit stiffer, and then they do it again, and he kind of falls, does a little bit more of a swivel to the other side, but he's still fine, I guess. But I would have stopped it, on that one push. He's all over the place. He didn't look like he really wanted to continue, but he just did, I guess, because his corner encouraged him on. That was something I was, not a big fan of. To me, it looked like the doctor continued the fight because there was booing about the fact that the fight may have been stopped. I wasn't that impressed with that. And then basically Russo did much of the same, getting, takedowns and punching him in the face and just trying for submission attempts, moving transitions there. A decision victory for Mike Russo. I scored at 30-27. I believe all the judges did score them that way as well. I think one judge actually scored that round. One judge scored it. No, never mind. I thought one judge gave a round to Justin McCulley. So, Russo looked pretty good. But then again, he was up there against an opponent who has decent jiu-jitsu, but I don't know. I don't think he'll last that long in the UFC. Anyways, moving along, we went to the next fight. Another heavyweight bout. It was Gabriel Napao Gonzaga versus Chris Terscherer. Man, was this fight freaking interesting. This was a angry Gabriel Gonzaga. You could tell he was very pissed off about being defeated by Shane Carwin in, a minute and 9 seconds or so. And he wanted to take it out on Chris Terscherer. And the first thing that happens in this fight is maybe the worst low blow I've ever seen in my life. I mean, he went for this inside leg kick, completely missed, 100% accuracy, right between the legs. Terscherer was down. It's not like you're hobbled over and, oh man, that hurts, and he takes, 3 of the 5 minutes. He was down on his back. He was writhing in pain. He was shaking. He was throwing up in a bucket. This was not good at all for Terscherer. I think, like most people, that this fight was going to be stopped and it was going to be more of a no contest. I don't think you could really disqualify Gonzaga. It's not like he intentionally went and low blowed Terscherer there. But, Terscherer manned up, and I tell you, he manned up. If you see this kick and you hear the sound that resonates from the kick to the balls, impressive from Chris Terscherer. He at least needs to get one more showing in the UFC just for that toughness there. And he probably will as well, since, he trains with Brock Lesnar, and Brock will probably pull some strings for the guy. But anyways, once the fight continued, it was okay, I won't kick you in, the lower body, so I'll kick you in the head. Gonzaga, big head kick to the head, drops him, and he just delivers some massive punches to the ground, cuts him open with a nasty elbow shot, and he grinded his face against the cage, which was kind of like a good old cage match in the world of pro wrestling there. And it started bleeding everywhere, and, the referee's like, Chris, got to advance your position. Chris couldn't. Referee stopped it. Very happy the ref stopped it there. People may say that someone um, uh, definitely stopped it too soon or so, but you know what? Tertiary wasn't in this fight. That low blow really took a lot out of him there. And then we went to the next fight, which of course made pay-per-view as well. This one was Ed Herman versus Aaron Simpson. This was another good fight. It was honestly like Ed Herman almost finishing at Aaron Simpson in the opening moments of this round, but then Simpson came back and put a very interesting fight on there. He went and took Herman down, and Herman, you can see on the replay, he screams in pain. He obviously tore out his ACL or his MCL, and that just really sucked there. And Simpson definitely won the round of the comeback, not even including the takedown that blew out the knee. So he wins that round, and it looks like his knee is just done. They're not going to let Herman continue at all, but they decide for some reason to let him go. I was very questionable in this card with the judge, the doctor's decisions and stuff of that nature. Not only in in the McCulley fight and now in the Herman Simpson fight. Something I think we need to look at as well, along with the refereeing, as he could be, his career could be over on something like that, and then the fight continues in the second round. Herman decides to throw a kick, which you have a bad knee. Why are you throwing a kick? So that happens. He goes down, and the ref just stops the fight. Basically, that's a tough break for Ed Herman. He's definitely going to be out at least 6 months to a year. That's not something you want to see there. But Aaron Simpson looked pretty impressive. He looked like he could have been finished pretty early in the fight, came back and actually won the round. And like I said, exclude the knee injury, he was winning the round there, and he probably would have done the same in the second or third. I don't really like to say that as much. Anyways, then we continue onto the pay-per-view portion of the card. This is the first fight on the card. It was Krzysztof, the Polish Experiment, Jasinski versus Brandon the Truth Vera. This fight was a little bit different than the way I thought it would be. Brandon Vera, in his fight going into this one after that, I think it was, Mike Pat or so, he looked very impressive using his, kickboxing or Muay Thai skills. I guess kickboxing, you should say, a lot of leg kicks and of that nature, but he wasn't as aggressive in that fight as he was here. He just looked like to pick his spots, stuff the takedowns, pick his spots, and kind of just grind out a decision there. Brandon Vera said basically in his hype video going into the pay-per-view, I want people to, when they signed the fight Brandon the Truth Vera, that they realize they made a mistake. I don't think he really proved that here. He proved that, look, he may be back and be, ever since dropping down from heavyweight to light heavyweight, he looks like he could be back and be an important factor, but I think it's going to be a long time before he gets a title shot. I will give Brandon Vera credit. He has some of the best takedown defense in the 205 division, especially against someone like Jasinski, who really likes to get you down and go for that Kimura. That's his bread and butter. He couldn't quite get it there. He definitely had the better strike. There were moments here where this fight got, a good little nice trading between the two, but really it was Vera just dictating the pace and winning all 3 rounds in my mind, and I think that's what everyone scored it as well. Jasinski, I think he may have had too many fights at too quick of a time. That's an unfortunate thing there. But whatever. Jasinski obviously will come back. It wasn't that bad of a demoralizing loss, and Brandon Vera looked like he's on the comeback trail. The comeback trail continues, so get him another big name opponent in here, and hopefully Brandon Vera can continue to show this kind of performance. I'd maybe like to see him be aggressive as he was against like a Mike Pat. So that's just one thing I want to say there. Then we went to the next fight, which was a number 1 contendership fight, basically. In the middleweight division, it was Damian Maia versus Nate the Great Marquardt, and boy, was this one quick. As I thought going in really was, Marquardt's so much bigger, and he actually has pretty good takedown defense. How will Maia get him down? And if he doesn't, he's definitely lost on the striking ability, and that's really what happened. But it wasn't like he got outstruck or anything like that. It was just he got caught coming in on a shot attempt or a kick. And, Marquardt just timed it perfectly, hit Maia square in the face, He fell back, his head hit the mat, and that was it. Marquardt could have, delivered more shots, and maybe in reality he should have, but realized, look, it's done. Let's just move on. So, Nate Marquardt with this performance could probably, hopefully, get a title shot from it, but I don't think that'll happen. Anderson Silva wants Marquardt to face Dan Henderson. I personally don't see that. I definitely just get the impression he doesn't want to fight a Dan Henderson who's now had more time in the octagon, cut better weight, and just, improved a lot better than, since that last fight that they had at UFC 82. So I think that they should give Dan Henderson the fight. Like I said, Dan Henderson's, gotten more over, got more bigger fan base since that Michael Bisping fight back at UFC 100. So make that fight happen. Let Marquardt be, in line for the winner. I think Marquardt presents a decent game for both of the two. Do I think he'll win? Well, we'll have to wait and see what happens in those fights. But he definitely has a great chance to win the fight there. The next fight was Jake Rochelle versus Chris Leben. This fight going in, I thought, Rochelle, he didn't look that great against Dan Miller, but I'm not going to take that away from him. He got caught by a great jiu-jitsu fighter, took him down early and just subbed him. That wasn't something I'm going to take away from Rochelle, as Rochelle's a really, really experienced wrestler here. For some reason, he wanted to, kind of keep it standing with Chris Leben, where Chris Leben likes to throw a lot of punches and go for that big one-hitter quitter type of punch that'll end you. He's got a good, I believe, right hand that'll just end your lights out. Just ask Terry Martin that. But, Rochelle really, I don't know why he wanted to keep it standing in the first round, which that's not really his big advantage there. Leben, of course, was pretty overhuge as he is from the Oregon area. But anyways, the first round actually was Rochelle's round, as he actually, for some reason, had the better striking, I guess. I didn't think it was the smartest game plan. Second round, he did get the takedown, and, he was working for positioning. And, that's just where Leben's lost, really. Once the fight goes to the ground, he's really lost there. And then, the third round, it was a takedown. He went for an arm triangle choke. He got it, and, Leben did this thing where he just tapped, and then he just passed out. So, Yves Lavigne could have just stopped. Anytime you see someone's arm go in that vicinity of a tap, stop that fight. It may look confusing, but stop it just for the benefit of the doubt of the safety. You can always get away with the excuses of the referee, like, hey, you tapped. So just move along with that. Rochelle, I'm surprised he didn't use some GNP, because if you saw his fight in the WEC against Neeson Osternak, on the ground, he's got some pretty nasty ground and pound there. So I'd like to see him use that more to his advantage. I guess he's just trying to show that I have a good submission game and I belong more in the UFC. I'm not just a wrestler who's going to take you down and do GNP. I have a submission game, but you beat Chris Leben, who really doesn't have that much of a submission game. So we'll see. As it was proven against Dan Miller that you against submission game guys not the best strategy there. Then we went to the next fight. It was Keith the Dynamine Jardine versus Thiago Silva. This was quick. This was Thiago Silva being angry. He got dominated by Lyoto Machida back at UFC 94, and he just, rocks frickin' Jardine, ground and pounds him. Good night. That was basically the fight there. Jardine, this not looked like the same Jardine that, has beat Forrest Griffin and Chuck Liddell. I don't think he'll be cut because he's a popular fighter, but, losses like this, if he had put up maybe a performance that he did against, Rampage Jackson, where, look, he lost, but at least he won the last round and put up a more convincing of a fight. This one here, I think, he didn't look that great at all. He got caught, and, well, the guy with some of the best ground and pound in the heavyweight division is Thiago Silva, and he lets you know that, and he just beat the tar out of Keith Jardine there, and looks like Thiago Silva could be another contender in 205 division. I don't know. He definitely needs at least maybe one more or two more convincing wins like this. That's definitely a big step when you beat a big name like Keith Jardine. So we can hopefully see more of that kind of performances from Silva. And Keith Jardine needs to get things going here, man. He needs a fight where he can win. Maybe the UFC will probably match him up with someone he can win against, and hopefully get that win. His last win was against Brandon Vera, and I think he mainly won that fight was because Brandon Vera hurt his knee, or was when that more Jardine hurt his knee, but still, that was not a good performance in the long run itself. Anyways, then we went to the Main event of the evening, it was Randy the Natural Couture versus Rodrigo Noguera. This fight was awesome. Let me just straight up say this fight was absolutely awesome. I knew it could be good, but after just remembering, Big Nog's performance against Frank Mir back at UFC 92, I've definitely written out a lot of him here, and then the video UFC put up of him just having an ice bath. Took all my chances of counting Big Nog in the fight here. Man, was I proven wrong. This fight was just so great. I mean, the atmosphere was perfect for it. And just two people who have, I have some of the most outright respect for, and so do most of the mixed martial arts fans in the world here. I mean, frickin', the striking, it was actually Couture by actually a hair. I thought Noguera put up a pretty good striking there. Once, Noguera got the fight to the ground in the first round, Couture's like, whoa, I'm not getting in that guard. Don't you ever think I'm going in that guard. He would stand up and try and get back to the striking where he had the fight basically more to his advantage. And then the fight got, taken down. Noguera puts on this Darce choke that I'm thinking, oh my god, this Darce choke is on so deep. There's no way Randy's getting out. It looked like he honestly tapped. I swear to God, I thought he tapped there for a couple seconds. But he mustered enough strength. I guess Nog thought, look, it's not on that good. I'm just gonna let it go so I don't burn my arms out. Fight continues. This was just great. They were in the clinch, throwing some great punches at each other like Fry Takayama. For like a brief second. It wasn't like that fight, but just for a brief second it was there. This was just an awesome first round. Definitely could be a candidate for fight of the round of the year for sure. This was just great. The crowd was into it. Kind of like pro wrestling-ish when you had, the guy that didn't want to win in Big Nog, they boo him every time he get a strike in or something like that. When Couture would get a strike in, it was big yays going in there. The second round, it was Couture actually kind of making things pretty interesting. I gave him the round. I thought, look, he had better strike. And he fought well off his back. It wasn't anything dangerous going in there, like any submission attempts that were dangerous. But the third round, it was Nogiera getting the fight to the ground and just controlling it there, basically. I believe it was either in the second or third where Couture actually was in full mount, and Noguera just did this beautiful sweep and just got things go over to where he wanted it. I was impressed with Nog. This honestly had that Pride caliber to it. Like, you felt like it belonged in Pride, and it even just made you want to see, like this just made me want to see Randy versus Fedor even more. People had written off both guys, actually, but really, Couture was the only guy to be actually half competitive with Brock Lesnar, and people, of course, wrote off Antonio Rodrigo Noguera. I sure was one of them. I think everyone on the, MMA community, a lot of them at least, for sure, wrote this man off. He proved to be awesome. I scored this one 29-28 for Noguera. I don't know where Noguera goes from here, but he's definitely getting one more win in a performance like this, or even with a finish as well. He gets a shot at the champion. I don't care who, but another performance like that, give this man another chance at the title. That was just one of the best performances I've ever seen. This is a candidate for fight of the year. Don't mind me saying. One of the best. This is the second best fight UFC has had. Obviously, second in terms. I don't know. It's right up there with the best fight the UFC had was Diego Sanchez Clay Guida. This is up there as well. So now where does this go? Well, we go to for the UFC at least, we go to a busy month of September as we have the undercard shows from UFC 103. We have a fight night in Oklahoma City headlined by Melvin Gillard and Nate Diaz, and we have the return of The Ultimate Fighter Season 10 in a show that I think everyone's looking forward to. I guess the only other thing coming out of the press conference was the fact that Randy Couture signed a 6-fight deal, so he will retire in the UFC, which, for the UFC, that's very good, keeping him out of any chance of Strikeforce, because if, he'd finished that contract up and hadn't re-signed, I think he probably would have gone to Strikeforce to do that fight with Fedor and what have you there. I think this show did pretty well in selling tickets as well, because Portland has a pretty bad unemployment rate, for the state of Oregon as well for in this economy, and it did pretty well there. It broke the, it was the live gate record for the state of Portland, or for the state of Oregon, I should say. So, UFC continuing to be one of the hottest sporting brands in the world, so overall, I'd give this show a thumbs up. Definitely look for the replay, and especially that main event. That main event was awesome. Anyways, moving along here, we go to the M-1 show. Only got to see a couple of the undercard fights, so I really won't talk about them. I saw the Sean Wilson, Josh Arocho fight, and it was basically Josh Arocho was winning in every department, and then he got subbed. That's basically what happened there, or TKO'd. Anyways, we start with the main card here. It was Daisuke Nakamura versus Fedor Kahiter in a catchweight bout at 159. This was a good fight, actually. It was more of a stand-up fight. It was definitely all a stand-up fight. Nakamura used to his advantage the jab to keep the distance between Kahiter, as when anytime like Kahiter would have moments where he wanted to bring the fight going, like he had a chances to take advantage, but he just Nakamura would use the jab and actually outstruck Kahiter going in there. It was basically that he used his striking to his advantage, and he used some devastating knees as well. He won the fight in my mind 29-20. I gave the second round to Kahiter's. I thought he had some really effective striking there, so very impressive there. Then we went to the next fight. This was a heavyweight bout. It was Lloyd Marshbanks versus Michael Kita. This was not a good fight in terms of refereeing, as Marshbanks got taken down, and Kita was standing up top delivering vicious strikes, and Marshbanks taps once, taps twice, taps 3 times before the referee even sees it. Kita's like, hey, ref, come on. He's tapping. I don't want to hurt him. And then at the end of it, you see Marshbanks grab onto his shoulder. This was not good at all. That's just one of the things why we need proper officiating. We need people to go through the John McCarthy program, or better officiating programs in the sanctioning states. Missouri is one of the worst for not only just mixed martial arts, but boxing as well. They need to really enhance this. That's just something I was not impressed with. Then we went to the next fight. It was another heavyweight bout. It was Rob Broughton versus Jesse Gibbs. This fight sucked ass. It was boring. Broughton, didn't want to engage at all. Gibbs really not either. Really, once this fight, only highlights of round 1, it was Gibbs going for a Kimura. Gibbs had better striking. Gibbs wins the fight 30-27. Then we went to the next fight. This was Mikhail Zayedis versus Lucio Linares. This was actually a better fight than I thought it would be for Linares, as he's more of a submission fighter, and Guy Metzger was out there saying, oh man, he's got to get this to the ground, he's not a good striker compared to Zayedis, and he just outstruck him. He threw a beautiful flurry of combinations that rocked Zayedis, took his back, rear naked choke, submission victory. So that was a fight that got me kind of more interested in the card for a brief period of time here. Then we went to the next fight. It was Carl Amuso versus John Doyle. This was just Amuso dominating Doyle as he got the fight to the ground. Was looking for attempts at rear naked chokes, arm bars, and G&P, and he eventually gets the victory, I believe, by an arm. He got a part of the arm and got a choke. He got a rear naked choke for the victory. Then we went to the exhibition bout, which is really one of the main reasons you were supposed to pay attention to this card. It was the exhibition bout between Fedor Emelianenko and Gegard Mousasi. Really, this one was kind of much the same. It was really just the work, basically, as it was just, let's show what Fedor can do. And, Mousasi would let Fedor, throw hip tosses on him, and or judo throws, I should say. And then Mousasi would get Emelianenko will let Mousasi take him down, and then Fedor taps out Mousasi at the end. It was kind of like when they had Aoki just let Fedor throw him around and stuff. It was fun for what it was. And then we went to the main event, which actually on the show we went to a space launch, which in reality was one of the highlights of the show, a space launch. That was pretty cool. Anyways, then we went to the main event. It was Muhammad King Mo Lawal versus Mark Kerr. And boy, was this fucking quick. It was like 14 seconds that King Mo beats Mark Kerr. He goes in, slams him down viciously. I think that may have knocked Kerr out, and just delivers some vicious ground and pound strikes. And one of them knocks the mouthpiece across the ring. That's it for King Mo. Gets the victory. That was the fight. Very impressive there. Definitely one of these bigger named organizations like UFC or Strikeforce have to be interested in a King Mo. excuse me, after performances like this, as that was just a very impressive performance. I mean, this was just a domination, and it shows maybe Mark Kerr should probably hang it up, as Mark Kerr used to be a big smashing machine, and now, like Mike Schiavello said, he's turned into a vending machine, and he proved to be a job machine on this one. So, anyways, that's really with M1. If you don't really see it, just look up the King Mo fight, and maybe if you want to see Fedor and Musasi's thing on the internet. But anyways, that's really that's a thumbs down show. Really, overall, that's it for me. I am out. Peace.